Oh, hello, everybody. Welcome back to Reality Realness with 3 S's. I'm your host here, Chantele Francis, with my lovely co-host, Tanya. How are you doing today, Tanya?
I'm good. I'm having a coffee. This is not SpawnCon, so if you see this mid-cafe cup, it's literally just what I ordered with my Egg McMuffin, which is not pictured. I'll spare you that, but...
You're an Egg McMuffin fan. I don't know when the last time I had an Egg McMuffin has been.
I think I was just trying to justify the fact that I was ordering McDonald's because I was like, this is fine. It's just an egg sandwich, but I also got fries. So I don't know if that balances out that meal, but it is what it is.
McDonald's fries is definitely where it's at. Like they just never fail. They're always delicious, in my opinion.
When they're fresh.
So good. Happy Wednesday to you too, Tamika. How are you today?
Happy Wednesday. Good afternoon.
Good morning. Oh, it's morning. Is it morning where you are? Chantele and Tanya, thank you. Ooh, I love a sausage egg McMuffin. I mean, I guess I don't really leave the house. But I did leave the last few days because I actually booked a role on The Expanse. So I've actually had to a few times to go and get like COVID tests and swabs, and it's just really weird. I'm never outside. I've been taking Ubers, and today for the first time I took the TTC or public transit home just to like see what that's like, and it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, but seeing people and like being outside is definitely very different. But I could get used to working on a show and like actually having somewhere to go and a place to be, you know?
Congratulations. That's great news. I'm happy to hear that.
Yay! Awesome. I'm working.
Yeah. Yay for jobs in the arts. I'm happy to see it.
Boom. Yes. So if this is your first time on Reality Realness, well, then welcome. We already have you. We're on our way to 1,000 subscribers, and we can't do it without you. So please just subscribe right down over there. So we're going to be talking about today, The Bachelor. I believe it's episode 10. The fantasy suites. Whoa, you got the notebook out already. Are you ready? Or were your thoughts of the episode?
Oh gosh, I'm just like I feel fatigued watching this just because once again I feel like we got an episode where it's just like so clear like how much advantage they've taken of Matt being someone who has not been in this franchise, and we'll get into it in terms of the specifics of this episode, but it's just never been more clear to me than watching this, like how they, I think, have preyed on his naivety in this situation and have really just basically screwed him over every step of this process. Aside from that, though, felt very fantasy suites as per usual. Always awkward, always uncomfortable, always random, like...
For sure. And I wonder if you feel the same way. I don't know if it's because of what you just mentioned with Matt kind of being taken advantage of by the producers or whatnot, but there's some part of me that's not buying this whole final 4, final 3, final 2 thing. Like, there's something about it that I'm just like, maybe it's because we know that he has to pick Rachel. Like maybe that's what it is. Like I can't buy that he's like conflicted and like, I don't know what it is, but there's part of me that was like, why are we even having these fantasy suites? I don't get it.
Yeah. It feels like it's a setup for the like Rachel Kirkconnell finale, like how that's going to play out more so than it was about like each of the women's experiences, I think, in the fantasy suites, which I understand that they're trying to, do a narrative here, but yeah, I didn't care for what I saw really. Like, and I always don't really like this episode anyways. I think it's on Juliet. I think it's on Juliet Littman's podcast on Bachelor Party where they had talked about this. Like, it's just an idea that they've discussed where like people who watch The Bachelor are either people who like the early part of the season or people who like the later part of the season. And I think I like the earlier part of the season more just because there's like, I don't know, there's more interesting things happening. Once it gets to this point and you start to kind of get a feel for how it's going, unless I really love the contestants, I find the late stage game to be less
that's what it is. That's
Yeah.
what I was going to say, though. I think it's because we don't care for any of these relationships, really, because we know, like, I would be super excited about Michelle and, like, her and Matt's relationship, but, like, he doesn't like her as much as he likes Rachel. So it's kind of like,
Yeah.
I can't really get invested in anything because I kind of can tell what the outcome's going to be. Maybe that's why this end game is kind of boring, because it's like, it just seems kind of obvious that he's giving a lot more of himself to Rachel. He just really seems like he is.
Yeah. Well, he's verbally given her the most assurance in that he's actually told her that he loves her. So
most good at Tim Hortons. What do I get? I used to get the English toffee cappuccino. I used to get that. It's very sweet, but I like it. It's as a decadent kind of hot beverage. But now they only have French vanilla, which I like, but I like the English toffee better. I might get a cruller or like some other,
like maybe a donut, but their baked goods and their coffee is like pretty terrible, I would say. It's a Canadian institution, so I think a lot of people ride for it just for that reason, but the quality of Tim Hortons is horrific. Like it's not that good, but if you're down for like, you know, a donut and the coffee, it'll
like
hit
pretty
the spot.
useful to get like a box of 20 Timbits for like, you know, you bring something for a breakfast moment. Like it's useful in that regard. I know exactly what to expect going there, so
yeah,
just pretty mediocre. Their breakfast is pretty mediocre. Their sandwiches, toasted bagels are decent, you know, but yeah.
It's also cheap. So like if you're hungry and you're just like need to grab something real quick, you can get a meal there for like $4 or something, you know, like it's fine. But it's not great.
No, I know, right? It's like, but I do get it more often than anything else, though. Like, it's so convenient.
Easy,
so we obviously announced the Bachelorette with a twist. Yes, we did discuss this before we came live. I'm not sure. Maybe at the end we can talk about it. What do you think, Tanya?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to spoil anybody if this is to be correct from Reality Steve, which it sounds like it could be, but I don't want to spoil anybody that's watching this if they're like really super unspoiled, but maybe I'm not sure what the chat feels.
Depending on how long we go, and then like at the end, maybe we'll have a little discussion about it, so people will have a time to decide whether or not they want to participate. So, or like to listen. Season is almost over. Thank God, Moses.
Honestly.
Okay, so to me, guys, an interesting point here. I just don't see the Rachel and Matt chemistry, but they totally centered even Brie and Michelle's date around her. Exactly. Maybe I don't know if we should talk about it now. I will talk about it after. But I have an opinion about Rachel and their moments together. So me too. I generally like the earlier portion of the season better, but I think it's because we don't care for The Bachelor and we don't care for his relationships because we know how it's going. I really think that might be leading into it, and because like we usually like don't necessarily know who they're with or they're doing a good job with the other women. Like there's something different that's happening. So I agree with Tanya. The end is always boring as compared to the beginning. It's true. Well, it is.
They usually try and inject some drama in at the end that's unexpected that makes it pretty funny. Like Peter's finale, while he's just a wreck of a bachelor and like thinking about Matt in relation to that, and even just like what Peter's season was. I've been thinking about a lot, but like that was pretty funny with his mom and the whole bring her home, like tearful situation. Like I think they really try now to make the end seem more than it is, but they're reaching clearly for different ideas, whether it's like you pick someone and pick someone else again, or you don't pick anyone, or you whatever. The twist is they try and make it exciting at the end now.
They all want the fence jump at the end of the they're just like, oh, we need another fence jump moment. Fence jump. What's the fence jump? Fence jump. I bet you that's how they in like the boardroom.
Absolutely. The fence jump for this season is clearly whatever makes Matt sit on the curb in the finale and talk to Chris about how he's not sure if he's able to continue. I feel like that's the clip that they keep coming back to, is just him being like, I don't know. To be honest with you, Chris, I don't know.
The ledge, like the curb. Yeah.
Yeah. That's this fence jump. We'll see what happens with that.
The editors, oh my god, they must have so much fun, actually. Okay, I don't think this is a spoiler. So Natalie says Matt and Heather dating rumors. Have you heard that? I haven't heard that.
I think they were, from what I was reading, they were both like Insta storying or something from like similar location. But I'm not sure if this was dispelled as it being kind of like a later gram on Matt's part and he wasn't actually there or whatnot. My thoughts on this are, God, I hope not. Please.
No. I mean, she's a nice person, but I just don't, no.
I don't want another like Kelly type, not Kelly situation because it's not the same, but just like you're just going to end up with somebody that you knew anyways. No. Not for us. We want something different.
No. The drama at the end of Juan Pablo's season was fun, though. I don't fully remember it, but like that season definitely was fiery because the audience hated Juan Pablo so much.
We were all united in our hatred for him, and I think that that's what made it fun, because when Claire told him off and when Nikki, and they had that awkward after the final rose interview, and he also was saying some crazy stuff, like I feel like we were all united against him. So it was like cheering against the villain in like a series where you're just like, yes, I'm so glad this is going down this way, but it doesn't seem so cut and dry these days in terms of the way they're handling things. So at least like we all didn't like Juan Pablo, so it wasn't controversial. We were just like, he sucks. Like there's nothing else to take away from that season.
So the beginning of this episode starts with, sometimes they've been doing this flash forward type thing. I'm not sure how I feel about it, because it's just like, how about you build the story a little bit better? Like, like if you want to have a dramatic moment, it does. Like, I don't want to see it at the beginning in order to want to watch it, to wait for it. Like, I do feel that Bachelor Nation people, the people that watch the show, are going to watch the entire episode. It's not like they're going to be like, oh, wait, Rachel is saying I'm in love with Matt and he's in love with another woman right now, and would start getting worried and watch to the end for sure now. Like, they're gonna watch anyways. So I just don't understand why. It's kind of like a mini spoiler, and it's just, I think it ruins the episode for me. What do you think about this flash forward or I don't like it, but what do you think?
I think it could be used more effectively, like if it was clips that were more compelling. But I find some of the clips that they've been using have just been a little bit random. And then by the time it actually airs in the episode, I feel like we've already seen it 2 to 3 times somehow with like previews and everything. Like, for example, with Serena P's date with the donkey. I think that was the clip that opened that episode where they're having their date and the donkey comes in. You're like, oh, a donkey. And then they showed that literally 3 times. By the time the donkey came up, I was like, yeah, I know. You showed me. And this isn't even an interesting part of the episode. So at least this fit in a bit more. But yeah, I don't think they're using the tool as effectively as they could. It could create more suspense for us, or to be like, let's get to that moment. I can't wait to see what happens. But instead, it kind of has the opposite effect for me, where I'm like, okay.
Well, even the other one was when I can't remember who it was, like Kit and I think Victoria were walking past the two new girls outside, and like it also resolved itself in the beginning of the episode, and also nothing happened with them walking past each other. Like absolutely nothing happened for that to be like, hey, like stay tuned.
Yeah,
we're gonna witness them continue on with that walk. Is basically what happened there, and I'm like, why do you need to like get me all excited? Like, I wasn't even excited, but like, getting us all amped up for like maybe there's going to be some drama there with like this crossing, and there was absolutely not.
Nothing.
Nothing. So Michelle's first to kind of start talking about her feelings about Matt, and she says that she is ready to spend the rest of her life with Matt. And she wants to see what life would look like with Matt. And so I think she really is coming from a desire to want to spend her life with him. And I like that she's not necessarily just being like, oh, I have like butterflies, I love him, and like he's great or whatever, but not really trying to see them as a couple and their life together. And so I think that she has a really mature approach personally. Mm-hmm. And I think that like she would be, in my opinion, the best person for a really long-lasting relationship. You know what I mean?
Agreed. Absolutely agreed.
Bree said that she didn't believe how quickly and easy that she could fall for someone, and this is a pretty big deal for her. When she was saying this, I was kind of like, this might be too little too late, Bree. Not that I don't know if she would ever been able to get him to like her more quickly, but maybe if she had opened up a little bit more sooner, or she had more time sooner, maybe they could have gotten there. But I was kind of thinking like the fantasy suite being the time that you're going to, like, for the most part, firstly open up. Mm-hmm. It might be too late. Personally, I could say that. Oh, Sam's here. Hi, Sam. The thank you for sharing kills me every time it's too much.
It's like the worst.
I get Bachelor shirts that says thank you for sharing.
I want to say that to my clients sometimes when they like tell me something, be like, thank you for sharing. Anyways, what can I do for you today?
I do use that in like group, like coaching sessions or like group therapy or any like, or acting classes where someone's doing like sharing a personal moment. You're like, thank you so much for sharing, or thank you being willing to share or opening up to share. For sure, I get the moment or the reasoning behind it, but he says that all the time with like the light tap, like the gentle tap on the knee, or, you know, like.
I think it's a step above I love that, which was Ari's version of thank you for sharing. I love that. Felt like it didn't land as well as thank you for sharing does. But they're both.
Have we thought of a new podcast? Like if there is an off season, which it seems like there won't be, an off season being like, okay, what are some more of these tropes? So like, what's the thank you for sharing? What's the what do you say? I love that. Yeah, I love that. There has been more. There has been more, and I think that would be really funny if we ever need content like to go through. Yeah. It's like the run and jump hug thing. That thank you for sharing type moment. There's tons of them, so I knew that could be kind of fun. And Rachel. Okay, so we hear her saying like, "Oh, I'm so sure of this. I haven't been so sure of anything ever." Like, which I felt weird about that. What do you think about Rachel saying that she's never felt so sure about anything ever?
I feel like for me, what this episode really highlighted for Rachel is a lot of her immaturity, I feel. To me, that's indicative of someone who just wants something, and I don't necessarily know that she actually wants Matt specifically, but I think whether, and we can get into this when it comes to her date too, whether she's making a play to be a future lead in terms of her actions or making a play to win, I think this is just indicative of like probably how she experiences things in life, which is like that very immature thing where like if you pout and you kind of are sad and you kind of are like having your moment, then someone's got to ask you what's wrong and kind of get this special treatment. Like, I feel like that was kind of the play that she was making, which from a game standpoint worked out very well for her. But I just think it's a sign of immaturity that I felt from her actions. It's just like, I don't know what it was really motivated from. I'm still on the fence personally about what her play was for Bachelorette or for Matt, but I do think it's just coming from a place of just lack of experience and also probably getting a lot of things that you want in life. I I'm just assuming, but like, as we can assume for like a beautiful white woman who is probably applauded for those exact qualities, I find it hard to believe that she doesn't get a lot of things by behaving this exact way. So I think she's doing it that way, personally.
It's worked. It's worked up until now, and it's still working at this point.
Yeah.
Tamika says, "Oh my God, Tanya, exactly. It felt like she just wanted to win a game. Like there was no investment in the relationship." It's true. I mean, we've been feeling this all along. You know, with her, the prayer and crying, and it's kind of like she's doing the right things to get the right reaction, and it's working. And so she probably knows, like, she has to say these sound bites, just for it to make sense. And yeah, I do think that she wants to win. I don't necessarily believe that in every fiber of her being, she knows that this is the one. I think that she's like willing her to be the winner right now, opposed to like,
or to get something out of it in some way, whether that's like she wins or she's the bachelorette. Like, she's no stranger to seeing how profitable this can be for someone who is like her. And I think with these younger contestants and these women that are on the later seasons that we're seeing now, I don't know what their history is with the franchise, but I can assume that she's probably watched like maybe some of the more recent seasons. And this exact tactic has worked out. Like, it almost worked out for Madison last season, kind of similar approach. And it worked for Lauren in Ari's season too, in the sense that they like made these plays to like need this special assurance that they are the person, and they require this like to happen in their own moment, in their own way. It's like a playbook that has been happening in the more recent seasons and been working. So I think whether she's consciously or not consciously doing that, I think she's definitely still aware, though. And in my opinion, I think it's calculated. But that's how I've always felt about her.
I agree with you. I do. I agree. So we catch all the three women sitting on the couches, and Chris comes in and explains that this week is the fantasy suite dates, and you know, have that moment to really like ask the tough questions, like, you know, go deep, like really explore your relationship. And it's just really funny that they try to make it seem like it's a profound thing to have an overnight date, but it's like really not that big of a deal. Like, no cameras. I mean, I guess that would be the biggest deal of it, that you could feel like you could be completely candid because you don't have the cameras there. And so you might get a taste of what it's like being alone together without putting on an air of entertainment or air of like who you want to be perceived as. So I guess that is different, and it could be closer to what your life will be like without the cameras. But in general, I don't think it's that profound of an experience.
No. And they set it up intentionally for this to be the only moment before a potential engagement where you actually like go deep on very important issues, which if you were dating someone for weeks, like, you may have talked about some of this stuff already. I would hope so. And particularly if you're getting engaged to someone, I think you would have talked about this stuff. But it's kind of like Ivan last season, where we saw there be a divide in terms of having a conversation about the real stuff in the fantasy suites and noticing that there's a big disconnect there. I mean, you probably shouldn't be finding that out at this point, but here we are.
I don't know. Well, I mean, I feel like they do actually have some of these deeper conversations, but they don't show them.
See them,
because it's not that interesting to hear about, like, oh, I want 2 kids, and unless it's like they say it at the same time, the like cute moments like that. But in general, it's like you don't really need to hear all those deep things. You want, maybe if it's a dramatic story, like, so you're going to want to hear about his father, or you're going to want to hear about her upbringing, like maybe like that stuff that could be interesting and people can relate to. But all the little ins and outs of like, so would we live in Chicago together, or we live in New York, or that's kind of boring. Kind of.
And Chris was killing me too, because he had a line that was like, oh, started with 30-something women. It's wild to believe that we're here now. It's like, is it wild? Like, that's the point of the show. So it's not that crazy unless you're saying it with the energy of like, oh, I can't believe it's spring. Or like, I can't believe, like, I'm like, what the hell is this? Come on.
The wildness is the fact that going from 38 to 3.
Right. Yeah.
That's pretty wild. It's
38, the people that they chose to add also, one of which is here in the final 3. Like,
so
Wild, you did this. You chose this.
whoa, didn't know that was coming. Like you planned it.
Oh, Lord, Chris.
Oh, Chris. So Bree reads the date card and it says, Michelle, it's time to get even closer. Matt. I wish that Matt wrote these things. I want to know more about him because the producers make him look like such a, I don't know, simp or like sap or I don't know. They don't make him cool, in my opinion.
No, they really haven't tried to, give us any suave elements of his personality. I also wish that they wrote it because on a personal level, I would like to see what their penmanship is like. I feel like that would be interesting to see. There's a lot to glean from how somebody writes.
Maybe he's a printer and he doesn't handwrite. Like, that was really interesting. I would love to see some handwritten stuff. Like, imagine getting engaged to somebody and never seeing their handwriting.
Right? Or was it on the challenge where they did that handwriting analysis one season? It was like so long ago, I want to say. And Sarah Rice, or maybe Sarah just talked about this, but anyways, she did like a handwriting analysis anonymously of everybody that was on the show. And she didn't know who everyone's writing was. And I believe it was when she saw CTs, she was like, oh, this person is crazy. Like whoever this is like literally not okay.
Where there was the notes on the bed and the banana was getting a girl to write the notes for him. It was the same season where Michelle stole the pizza.
31. Oh, yeah. I was just watching this one. It's the one right after Dirty 30 with Marie and Brad and the pizza and bananas and the notes. But yes, into the handwriting analysis. I would like to see it personally.
Why don't they have this as a date? Like let me see some handwritings. It also reminded me when I'm thinking about handwriting analysis. Do you ever play Jackbox?
Mm-hmm.
So Trivia Murder Party, one of the things is like, I don't know, Mildred, like write something, like can you, and then everybody else writes whatever word that Mildred might say and you have to guess. I usually am pretty good at like detecting Mildred's handwriting, and I find that kind of like a fun little task to see people's handwriting and then also like being able to see if you can guess the right one. So Bachelor, maybe take us up on this and have maybe a handwriting analysis date. I'm into it.
I'd like to see it. Yeah.
Chalkboard writing, like that's another thing.
I know. Oh, I have very distinctive handwriting too. Like I print as well, but my writing's like very neat. Mm-hmm. So it's something that I'm always interested in because it's one of the first things that people talk to me about. They're like, wow, you're writing. I'm like, interesting. I'm a person as well. I've got a lot of great qualities.
You ever do cursive or no?
No, I don't really do cursive. There's like some swoopiness to certain letters, but I don't think I've written anything like proper cursive all the way since like I had to. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm a cursive only person.
It's faster.
Unless I'm using a marker, but I even still will be kind of cursive, but maybe if it's a markers or if I'm intentionally printing, but my natural go-to is always going to be cursive. And usually like I have nice handwriting, but when I'm writing my notes, they're pretty ugly. Like they're pretty
well, speed, right? We're trying to like actually write things down quick usually.
So, okay, what happens next? So Matt's talking about how he guards himself and he has a lot of fears and, he feels that his outlook on relationships is unhealthy because of how he grew up and maybe his perception of his father. And so we knew from the previews that his father was going to be part of this date. And I think this is where you were probably suggesting him being taken advantage of a little bit by the producers by having this moment that he said that he's never talked to his father about these certain things and having it live to air, like, or whatever, recorded to air. Like, I think that's a little bit insensitive. But who knows what like if Matt agreed upon it or if he wanted to do it. Like he had some say in it. So what were your original thoughts about Daddy-O coming in to talk to Matt before he has his fantasy suite dates?
I was just like, producers of this show are so fucking spineless for doing this. I really feel like I just don't think that this was appropriate to be aired. Whether Matt was aware, I think, like, here's what I think. I think maybe he had a conversation and it was important to him, a conversation with production where it is important to him to kind of like clear the air with his father in some way in order for him to feel like he's ready to get engaged. Okay, holding space for that. I think they took that and ran with it completely, built story around it, invited this man's father to come speak to him. To me, it was very clear that the dad was not aware of the context of this conversation was going to be serious. I think he was definitely brought on thinking this was going to be celebrating Matt as a bachelor. You guys are going to have a nice chat, like father, son, huh? Like it'll be nice. And I think he was also blindsided by the content of the conversation. And I just think if they cared about Matt and they cared about actually supporting him in any way, which they obviously don't, then this conversation could have happened and we could have not seen it. But as an audience, it was extremely uncomfortable to watch. And I did not feel like it was appropriate for us to be seeing this at all, especially because they haven't even connected prior to this for God knows how long. It just felt like exploitation 100%. And then to top it off, the stereotyping, and if you tie it into the race and you are portraying, you know, the absent Black father in this way, I think it's negligent. It's not right across all levels. It's not right. I did not like
100% agree with you. I didn't enjoy the segment either. In a typical fashion to how I didn't think that there was care involved with Jason and Claire, you know, with her like asking to go deep into some of his secrets or like any emotional pain that's been stored deep away. And so I feel as though like it's totally okay for Matt to be wanting to have this conversation with his father. Absolutely. I think it's definitely necessary if he wants to have a long-lasting relationship with anybody. I think it's something that he needs to work on. And if, okay, say they both are okay with them airing this on television, I think there needs to be a professional that deals with boys, especially maybe boys of color, that has a father of color that has done something in this way in his growing up. I think that they needed to have taken care of it instead of Matt just voicing his feelings, all valid, and his dad not knowing how to respond, definitely also completely valid. But It would have been nice for a therapist, coach, or whatnot that is professional in dealing with people of color that have had absentee relationships with, you know, their we'll say father in this case. Like I think someone needed to be there to mediate. I think someone
100%. Like that's something that you would hopefully safely be able to have a conversation like this in family therapy or with the guidance of a professional or in some way. Like this isn't just these people's, you know, drama with each other. What was very obvious to me and what we were hearing, and I'm placing no judgment on, you know, whatever his father's actions are. Like I don't have a thought or opinion about that whatsoever. I'm just like, clearly this is generational trauma. This is something that we don't even really know what, you know, has happened even to his father. Maybe Matt doesn't even know. Like this is things that need to be unpacked safely and not for the general population of people watching this show. It just isn't the right venue for this. And it's also not the right show to facilitate this conversation properly. And I think it just highlighted the exploitation that happens on The Bachelor in a very negative way, in my opinion. It's not a good look for them because there's no humanity to the way this was portrayed. And for Matt to just be out there kind of having to navigate that on his own, I was honestly very taken and like, I felt very, not inspired, but I was really proud of him for the way that he did advocate for himself in that conversation. For anybody out there who has like a challenged relationship with a parental figure in their life, I know I do. The amount of times that I've wished that I could have a conversation where I could actually express myself in that way and have them hear how I feel, and how many times that doesn't happen. How many times, like, you know, I've tried to broach that conversation in my own life, recognizing obviously we have very different situations, but it hit me personally. Like, it was actually kind of triggering for me to watch. And that element of it, I was like happy to see him advocate for himself in that conversation. And it seems like really express things that he had been suppressing for God knows how long, anger and hurt and disappointment. And he managed to get that across. So I was glad to see that at least, but again, we shouldn't have been seeing it all play out.
No, it's not really entertainment. Hi, B Bean. So hi, Rachel Lindsay said it's knows for a fact that Matt did not want this combo with his father to air. Wow. Now, do you know if he wanted to have the conversation, or if like that was the producers that just put this whole segment on to Matt and then forced him into airing it as well? Curious.
For that, but I know definitely Bean is right. Rachel brought this up on Juliet's podcast this past week. She came out of her hiatus to talk about it because she was so disappointed, obviously, in the way that they were portraying this situation. And that she knew for a fact that Matt didn't feel comfortable with it airing. Matt also tweeted during the episode to talk about it too. I don't know if you saw that, Chantele, but he addressed it as well. Yeah. So, but she didn't say whether he wanted to have that conversation or not. I don't know if she knows that info, but hoping he'll tell us when he's allowed, whenever that is.
Hi, Dino. They blindsided the father, and Matt has to take some of that blame because this is a conversation you should have had before even coming on the show. 100%. Like, I mean, if his dad was blindsided, that's really unfair, I think. Especially, or unless it wasn't supposed to be aired, and that was the stipulation. It's like, hey, like, I'll get my dad here. Well, I can have this conversation for myself, and it wasn't supposed to be aired, and then they just like filmed it and aired it when everybody was already together, which is pretty slimy, anyways. But yeah. I don't like the explanation.
We don't know how difficult it would have been for him to get in contact with his father before this, or for them to even have the opportunity to talk about it before this. Like, the powers that be are very, very capable of making things happen. Like, I don't even know how they manage to do this. The people that they bring into the sphere, whether it's family members or exes or whomever, like, they have some kind of ability to make people appear. So I also wouldn't be surprised if he had difficulty even getting to a position where he could meet with his dad to have this conversation before. And I don't think it was pitched to the father appropriately to what it was, clearly.
And Moses says, basically is saying, not The Bachelor, it's more suited for Yanla, Fix My Life, which, like, yes, exactly. Like, have you seen that show or no?
I know of the show. I haven't seen it, but I'm aware of, like, the premise. Yeah.
I don't know if I've seen it either, but I remember when she used to have her segment on the Oprah show. And I used to enjoy that moment because she was like pretty powerful. And I've probably read some of her books or gotten them for my mom for like Christmas, you know? But yeah, like maybe having Iyanla over here to give like, hey, what do you want to say to your father? Are you hearing that? What are you hearing? Like someone to help them unpack this together instead of just the cameras. Like it's icky. It's a little icky. A Black executive producer would have been valuable in the room when deciding to show his father or not. Absolutely. Well, we know for sure that just having diversity doesn't just mean having a Black lead. It means that, you know, the people that are making the decisions about the show need to start being more diverse. They need a mediator and an off-camera conversation, 100%.
Yes.
Showing his father reinforced the Black stereotypes, absolutely, that most of Bachelor Nation already thinks exactly. It was negligent of the narrative that it further perpetuated. It's pretty...
And that's what he said in his tweets too. And then he he mentioned that in his tweets and addressed that, and then also just linked to one article that's about the representation of like Black men in the media and the way that that's stereotyped, and it's absolutely harmful and not done in a way, again, or by a show or team or anything where they value showing that in a nuanced and productive way. Like, it was literally just for the drama, and it was obviously just for the drama.
So insensitive. Once it was filmed, you should know the chances are that they are going to air it. Absolutely. Like, you're on the show. If there's a camera there, like, let me just catch this in case there's like a good moment we can use. It's like they're using all the moments that you don't want. Likely.
That's why I really like I don't think he really fucking knew what he was getting into when he took this role. And I think, like, even for Tyler being his friend and probably like having some inside info is still coming from someone with a different lived experience than him. It can't just be, it's not going to be the same experience that it was for Tyler, this hot white guy that everybody loved, just for being hot and like nice, it seemed at the time of the show. That's going to work out for Matt in the same way. So I don't think it's necessarily Tyler's fault, but I don't think he thought about those things either. And I just think Matt really didn't know the extent of the manipulation or the extent to which he would be taken advantage of. And they want that. They want somebody that's malleable in that way because it allows them to create the story that they want.
100%. And, you could tell that the father was blindsided here when he's like, I thought we're coming here to celebrate you and like, your accomplishments. And like, I'm so proud of you. And like, he kind of started off on that tone. And then Matt just kind of like, if I wanted to celebrate, like, we'd go to Chuck E. Cheese. Yeah. And I was like, oh, so the father didn't really realize that he was coming here for a serious conversation. That's when the moment for me was like, oh, I feel bad for this man, because I think that anybody rectifying how deeply they've hurt somebody for 30 years and not really know about how much it's affected him and just be kind of blindsided by this information when you're coming here to celebrate. I think that was so unfair. I felt really bad for the dad. Especially when you hear that it was his father. Her father got killed when he was 5 years old, I believe. And we don't know what happened there, but I have to always remember that people do the best they can with the tools that they were given and what they learned as a child. And they just do the best they can. And you have to think of his father as just like he's just doing the best that they could. And I understand that there was some cheating that happened and he wasn't the best husband to his mother, and I totally understand, but they both were people that were learning to deal with each other in relationship, and they both have had trauma.
Yeah.
So,
and that's the depth of that trauma is beyond the scope of this show, right? Like, your father dies when you're 5 years old. That obviously informs your perspective of what having a father figure is like, or lack of father figure is like, which then, we all become things that we come from too. And we forge our way ahead, like learning what we learn. And hopefully we have access to therapy or some way to like facilitate that path for ourselves and cope with what's happening and learn how to act differently. Like, these are all things that just are not in the realm of what this show does. So I don't think that they should be touching that, period, unless they're going to be supported to the point here with like a team of producers or people on executive or people who are making decisions that actually have lived experience and actually are looking out for the people that they're representing here, which doesn't exist in this franchise.
Yeah, so they just look out for the people. It's all for the TV moment. I get it. It's a TV show, but like, this is not necessarily to unpack live. Like, it's just so rude. Producers may try to justify it by referencing Dean's father on Rachel Lindsay's season, but that was different. I think that was a lot different with the negative stereotypes of Black men as fathers. Yeah. I think that that's where the big difference is here. When we're supposed to be having a season about diversity and about growth and change, to still have something that stigmatizes like their relationship. I mean, it's a fact. It's happened to them, and it true. but how they dealt with it, I didn't think showed growth of even the franchise on how to be dealing with race. And
it highlighted the discrepancy even more clearly. But the Dean thing was also messed up. Like, I agree with you, Chantele, because we do have the aspect of, you know, how we're stereotyping someone based on the color of their skin in this situation. But the Dean one was also like super, super exploitative and really awkward to watch as well. Yeah, I didn't like watching that either. I felt like that was so uncomfortable. And then for them to kind of keep doing this time and time again, and then also in this historic season, and then also after everything that's been happening, it just shows how bad they addressed everything this year.
They didn't get it. Hi, Louis. Tyler was the hottest Bachelorette contestant ever. Is he the hottest? I mean, you're not going to
really like I think the online fan base thinks that he is, for sure. I think he's really hot, but I don't know if he's the hottest ever.
Who I think is the hottest, but I think you're going to be so mad at me, I think. I think you'll be so mad at me for saying this person. So do you think you can guess who it is?
No, I don't know. Who are you going to say? The hottest?
That I think is the hottest. And I think
the one I hate? Colton?
I mean, I don't know if you hate, but like you won't, you'll be mad at this choice.
It's not Colton, right? Please don't.
No, my God, no.
I was ready to go. I was gonna say. No, tell me who.
Josh Murray.
Oh. I mean, objectively, he's an attractive person. I think his personality and everything afterwards is what repulsed me from him, and his just gross like kissing sounds and like
I didn't mind his gross kissing sounds. I didn't mind him being really sweaty, especially with pizza.
Honestly, I like don't like Josh, but I think that he is objectively attractive at least, and what deters me from feeling he's attractive is everything else about his being. But if you told me Peter or Colton, I would have flipped this table.
Do you have anybody on your list of like decently hot, like that you could be like, yeah, like I'm into it?
I'm trying to think of like who stood out to me as like, I was like, oh, this person's really hot. Like beyond, I do think Tyler, like of that season, was very much up there. Who else do I actually think is attractive in this franchise? I have such a hard time separating them. And to be blatantly honest with you, I find more of the women attractive in this show than the men. And like, I think of that first and foremost. I did think,
Josh Murray, BB and Josh.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Josh Murray. I did think Brendan was super attractive last season, personally.
Okay, he's okay. Yeah, he has a sweetness to him.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I like bad boys.
Maybe. Do you think Nick Viall is hot?
Who?
Nick?
Who? Well, he got that thing on his Bachelor season, but like at his podcast, listening to him, like he infuriates me so much that I can't really find him attractive anymore. Because he just acts as though he's so like he's lived so much and he has so much knowledge and he's so smart and he's always giving all this advice. But there's an undertone to his actual tone of voice that really pisses me off. And so I can't find him attractive because I find him so irritating.
I agree. I know I have another answer, actually, someone who I thought was hot that I was like, oh, this person's super attractive, was Peter Krause from Rachel's season. Mm-hmm. I thought he was like, for me, in the super hot category. I don't know what he's doing these days, but objectively speaking, I thought he was very attractive. He had some hot eyes.
Season, I was like very like, I was like, oh my God, like hard eyes for him. Yeah, I definitely was into Peter. I forgot about him. I was just like, oh my God, I want to kiss Peter. Like, I was so jealous.
I was like fully in. I was fully buying that too, thinking that they had, like, the way they edited that season, I was like, oh, she should have picked Peter. Like, I was totally of that mindset, which the manipulation is real. But yeah, he is hot.
So Rachel said that Dean was uncomfortable during that segment. And like, so I'm just wondering why they keep on doing it. Like, is it get the ratings? Like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to try to fix or how I'm trying to change the franchise, or maybe I'm just complaining about it, but like, I just actually like it how it is. But like, I don't know. I just don't like the exploitation of these relationships that like they're just so fragile, you know?
Yeah.
And
for sure.
I wish that they were coming from a place of actually wanting to mend the relationship. These are the producers, I mean, as opposed to just exploiting the relationship. And so maybe that's where it is. Like, they can have these moments if they were taking more care of their people. It worries me, the outcomes, you know?
Mm-hmm.
This is a lesson for future contestants or Bachelor, Bachelorette, just to deal with their demons before coming on the show. Or maybe they must not think that they're going to get to the final four. Because like,
I think it's also like, you think you know until you're actually in that position, especially this far down the road where it's been like weeks and weeks and weeks of filming. I think your grip on reality and yourself and like how you would normally react in these situations if you had like your home and your comfort around you, a place to escape and like actually reflect on it without being there the entire time. It strikes me as a case of like, yeah, if I was there, I would like to say I wouldn't react that way. Like for the fantasy suites, I like to say I wouldn't react that way with jealousy or anger of them leaving with another person, because you know that's part of the deal. But I think when you're actually probably in that situation, you may act differently just because you're not aware of how it'll feel. And I think also for Matt, it seems to me like he's learning a lot about himself watching this show play out. And the way that he's been called to address so many things, I don't think he's had to address with such like importance, like all of these issues that have played out. It's probably making him even question like himself and thinking about work that
beard.
The beard, that's the beard. The wisdom beard.
It's like he's learned a lot. I'm sure that I'm sure that he didn't even realize about how he thinks about himself as a Black man. You know, like one thing that was coming up for me just watching this episode was, I didn't watch the whole thing, but I've seen a lot of clips of Harry and Meghan's interview with Oprah and talking about even their son, whether or not he was going to be judged depending on his skin color and how dark he was going to be, and how that was part of the conversation that they're having with the royals. And you know, Matt seems to me as though he grew up not really having to look at himself as a man of color, and which is fine that people didn't treat him necessarily differently or that he didn't notice. But it's also not fine because there are some people that are going to treat him differently, and his children are going to potentially be treated differently with whomever he has a child with. So I think that he thought that he was stepping in to be the Black Bachelor, but I don't think he really had any sort of understanding as what it actually meant to be Black and a Black man, and then also representing an entire race on this franchise that he's barely watched. Like, I think he's just kind of like blindsided completely as to like what they were expecting of him without really giving him any instructions or any ways of coping with it. Like,
he was clearly super relating to that interview too, because he was tweeting quotes from it. And I think it's kind of strange that all of this dropped at the same time, but I think also indicative of obviously everything that is being discussed right now, especially in terms of the race controversy that we see playing out on this show, but then also, with the royal family and everything. I think he was really like relating to the truths that Meghan was speaking in that interview. And I think it gives us a little bit of insight into Matt's processing of this experience. And I do hope that he, has some kind of aftercare for himself, maybe like see someone or has someone that he can speak to professionally about this, and someone that can help him, because no doubt he's been traumatized by this experience.
Bean. Andy disagrees with me. Yes, I mean, obviously Andy doesn't think that they were going to do well together. Most of us knew that they weren't going to last. He was too much of a bad boy, too much of like knows he's hot. He's a professional athlete. Like, he was too searching for the spotlight for him to be able to settle down with like a lawyer. I think that he probably wanted to win more than he wanted to be with her. It seemed pretty obvious as a viewer, but she was sucked in. Like, I felt he had a bigger connection with, what's her name on From Paradise?
With Amanda.
I thought that they had more of an obvious connection than he did with Andy, but yeah, I didn't see him and Andy really lasting. That wasn't really, I wasn't like, ooh, interesting. Tamika says people are shipping Brendan and Bree. Have they hung out? Have they met? Or are they just matchmaking aesthetically?
I think they're just matchmaking aesthetically, as Bachelor Nation does. But I'm here for that.
I'm here for that.
I think if Bree and Brendan are both in Paradise, specifically if Bree's in Paradise, people are gonna freak out. Like, she's such a catch. The guys are gonna lose it.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, people forget their demons until Reddit picks them up. I mean, Reddit, man, like, you guys got to cool it a bit, because like, it makes people not want to be open and sharing. Like, I get it. You're putting yourself out there, you're on a platform. You should know what it comes with being in the public eye. But like, sometimes they just need to leave some of it deep down underneath. Like, it's not a soap opera, it's people's actual lives.
Yeah.
Bree and Ivan. Ooh. I think Bree and Brendan makes more sense to me than Bree and Ivan. I definitely feel, based on Twitter posts and IG posts, that Matt gets what the producers did to him now, especially if he talks to Rachel on the regular. Yeah, I mean, I think he's learning that he was taken advantage of, and yeah, I'm sure he's not that happy with his full experience, especially looking back and not giving the tools. It's all about giving the tools of people to succeed, and that's what I don't like. It doesn't seem like they want them to succeed. They just want the drama.
Yep.
And I'm not here for that. So the dad kind of wipes his tears away, and he says, from himself, which was like, Matt did say something enough to instill some, trigger some emotion within his father. And he said, I tried, Matt, I tried. And I was like, oh, and he's like, I'm sorry I hurt you. And that's what I'm saying. Like, these are all people that are trying to do their best. Obviously there's some sociopaths and people that are super narcissistic that don't have your best interest at heart, but parents, they usually are just doing the best with the tools that they have. And so it was a sad moment, and I felt for the father, but I was happy that he was able to say that.
Yeah, I mean, somehow this ended positively from what was depicted. I think that putting that bow on it also is a disservice to the level of work and things, but Matt himself acknowledged that it was a starting point for them. So I hope somehow they're able to, gain something from this. Maybe it will be a starting point for them, but ultimately they walked out together. And hugging.
And Matt still took a jab. He's like, oh yeah, I'll beat you in soccer. Dad's like, absolutely not. I'm like, the dad is not going to let you beat him in soccer. Like, I think I felt like the dad was just kind of like, no, like, that's not a thing. I thought it was a cute moment. It made me feel a little bit better about the whole thing. There was probably a lot more unpacking that we didn't get to see. Thank you. But I am happy with how they did tie that up in a bow, or just to make me feel better about the situation. And agreeing with you, happy that he looks at it as the first step towards a better relationship. So if I take that as the learning piece here, it's like, hey, you can start a conversation, know that it's a work in progress. And if you have two willing parties, things can change for you, for the both of them, and you can start healing. So hopefully that's the message that people took, not that, the tropes, the absentee father type thing. Fingers crossed. Okay, so Michelle's date day. They didn't do the run and jump hug. They just did.
Maybe not on rainy days, apparently. She had an umbrella, so I think she would have had to drop it for the.
Yeah, like he was running and was abandoned and drop it and leap into his arms. Also, I laughed really hard about the whole the breakdown of like the jump pad that he's approaching, and she's just gonna go and like it was very funny.
I thought so since we've started doing this podcast, just for everyone watching for context, like sometimes I think the things that we're talking about, like we're discovering, or at least we're calling out like this awareness of the hug jump thing. There are people who are doing the work in regards to this, specifically a Game of Roses doing the breakdowns of the hooju, as they call it. And it is absolutely hilarious. Like I showed my partner, like I showed everybody. I was like, hey, well, can we talk about this content? Because I'm blown away. I actually like rank it from the approach to the jump itself, the mount, the cling, the dismount, and like score it as if it's a sport. And it's beautiful to see. So we are not geniuses. Apparently, this is being studied in depth. But I have to shout that out because that is the funniest thing. I love it.
Funniest thing, and I guess what makes it equally as funny is the fact that we've discovered it, but people have recognized that this exists enough for them to be putting in that work to make a podcast or make a video clip of the hooju. So maybe I'll get Tanya to give me the link, or I'll find the link and I'll post it in the description box if you guys want to learn more about the hooju. 100%.
Moments like that make me love the internet. I
so
hate the internet sometimes, but when it delivers, it delivers. It's just so niche, so silly, so great. I love it.
So if they had a child, the baby would be beautiful. Brendan and Brie, absolutely, definitely.
And maybe have the best hair ever. Like, come on.
Like perfectly curly. I think can't wait for Brie based on one of his interviews. Brie and Brendan are following each other on IG now. Okay, I ship it. Oh, Brie unfollowed Matt, the show, and anything to do with the Bachelor show after Monday. Wow.
No choice but to stand for that reason alone. That's hilarious. Love that for Brie. She's been joking a little bit about stuff. Like she posted a meme after the conversation that she had with Matt about quitting her job that was like, can I have my job back? And I think she's very aware of everything. So it doesn't surprise me that she has that reaction. It makes me like her even more.
Me too. I mean, I'd just be like, you guys just exploited me, and then Matt sucks. I'd just be like, like, no more talking. We're done. Okay, so but why address your daddy issues on TV? Wrong channel. I mean, I don't know if they realize that that's where they're going to need to go. I think they're just naive to it a little bit. Learning that the jumping is scripted broke my heart. Get out of here, broke your heart.
I mean, I don't know that it's scripted. I think they're encouraged to do it. I think the funniest thing about the analysis is you really see like everybody's different approach to it. And there are certain aspects of it that are really formulaic. Like when they're actually being held up, they usually have some kind of like interaction where they kiss or say like, hey to each other, like, how are you doing? Or like, it's just this like weird, it's like strategy. I don't know what's happening. What are we watching?
Yeah, I need to go follow those accounts that have those things, because that's what I want to know about. Like that is breaking news to me. Is somebody finding these moments.
You would really like the Game of Roses podcast then, because they break it down, like it's their content as well. Bachelor Clues and Pace Case, I want to say, are the two people that run that, but they have a podcast and their whole thing is that it's a sport and that the people that are currently on the show are basically on a professional level of playing this sport. So they break it down that way, and they have like names for all of the little tropes that we noticed that are like actually strategy that they analyze and break down. So I think you would like it if you listen to it. It's very much like what we're trying to do, but we never put together the like through line of all these things. We're just like, did you notice that she ran and jumped? But they like really thoroughly break it down. It's quite entertaining.
I'm definitely going to get you to remind me, and I'm going to, if I remember that, I will put all this in the description box, because I think that it needs to be shared, because it's so genius. It's just so smart when people notice these things and able to do something with it in this fashion. Like, I find it to be really genius. So love it.
Yep.
Her mom post too was hilarious, that they're going to burn the big bunny, LOL. What does that mean? I don't understand.
I'm not sure, but I think she's referring to Bree's mom, who's been pretty active on social and seems awesome as well.
What's the big bunny though? Oh, sure. The date, the carnival date.
Oh.
Okay. That's funny though. Okay, so what happened on this date? So she kind of just walks up and gives him a hug and how are you? And they're gonna have a Pennsylvania Dutch spa day, and you know, you see the spa area, there's like a big tub of milk and there's an oatmeal foot thing. I got your Matt's shirt off. Okay. And they were rubbing each other down in butter, apparently. As part of this, spa day. I felt really uncomfortable seeing them both so oily. I don't know why, but it just really grossed me out. Not that it was butter, but like that it was just so oily. Maybe because it just
I felt my pores. I literally felt my pores clogging as I watched that. I was like, butter? Ugh, like that's like not what you should be rubbing all over your skin. There's no way that can be good for your skin. I could feel the acne forming. I was like cringing thinking of that.
Oh, the one Matt gave it to her baby sister. Wait, didn't Bree have the carnival date?
No, that was Piper.
Piper. Never mind. Sorry. The one that Matt gave the baby sister. Okay, I don't even remember that moment, but that's also still funny. Yes, it was funny. What was gross? Oh yeah,
What's gross?
I didn't really enjoy it.
I don't want to hear oatmeal being squished around. That's disgusting.
It reminded me of bucket and a mop with that wet ass.
The world's worst version of that. So nasty, like literally gross. And then Michelle was just such a good sport about that, like actually offering feedback about what elements of the date she enjoyed. I was like, we don't deserve her. She's really finding the silver lining in this gross 100%.
Michelle was ready to have some deep conversations. She felt that it was the right moment for her to say, I love you. What do you think about this? Her saying it. She said the words, I love you.
It's the time. It's the time. If you're going to say it, I think this is the episode to say it, strategically speaking. I think she actually really likes Matt, though. Like, I really do buy Michelle, like, being into him more than anybody else that's here. To me, it seems the most authentic. So I actually don't think that she's bullshitting, but I also do think that strategically at this point is when you really need to confirm that you love them. If you've already said that I'm falling for you, I'm falling in love with you precursor, which she has, now's the time to say I'm there so that you can continue to move on. So she did what she needed to do, but I do think she likes him.
I definitely don't. I don't think that she's faking it. I do think that she feels that he's her person. I do feel that even if she was a little bit hesitant, like maybe she's not at the I love you point, but she's close. Saying it is, you're right, strategically the right time to be saying it. And then he just kisses her. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I know he's not supposed to be able to say anything, but he didn't really give her any reassurance from me seeing that moment that he felt the same way. It didn't seem like it, even the type of kiss that it was kind of like, it didn't support that, in my opinion. Tamika thought that this date was gross, but Michelle was awesome the whole time. I love her. Yes, we do love Michelle. She's a good Bachelorette contestant. Like Bachelor contestants. Like she's just good on this franchise because even though they're kind of flipping you around, like she still seems to be very focused and very direct and very honest, and she's not allowing everything else to distract her from her main goal and main focus. So I really like her.
This just dawned on me right now. I was thinking about it. I think that when she speaks to him, it feels like she most genuinely actually does care about how he feels, and why I think there's a very interesting interplay between her and Rachel, because from what we've seen, I feel like his relationship with Rachel is more like him taking care of her and him reassuring her and him being worried that she's okay when the skydiving happened, whereas Michelle is very much there for him and articulates that often. Even when he tells her here that he spoke to his father, she reassures him and she affirms him, and she tells him, what does she say? She says, you still bring just as much to the table from having your example of love that you saw, and for you to sit down and have that conversation is a big step. That's wonderful. Like, I feel like she's the only one, not that Bree's not doing this, but it doesn't feel as motivated from a place of like, she's actually caring about how he's doing. Mm-hmm. Whereas with Rachel, it feels like it's the Rachel show and like, how's Matt going to help me, as opposed to what is she doing for Matt? You know, I feel like that's a big thing.
So Sam says, if I was in their position, I would ask, so what do you feel about me saying I love you? Don't just give me a baseless kiss. What the heck? Exactly. I mean, if it were me receiving that kiss, I would think that he doesn't love me. But I would probably be rationalizing it if I loved him, being like, he's not allowed to say yet. He's not allowed to say yet. He's not allowed to say yet. But I think that I would register that he did not give me any sort of reassurance there. That's, I think.
Also, what was up with the sweater? How's everyone feeling about that lime green sweater? That ribbed lime long sleeve. I was feeling very questionable about that choice.
I mean, we have to go back and take a screen grab here. What I clocked was them, like him shirtless and her in a robe, looking out on the balcony. I was like, "There's a moment."
The morning after.
I didn't enjoy seeing that whole like, you know, I don't know, just.
These all make me feel like awkward because it's like whether they had sex or not, the show is trying to imply that they have. And then it's just like this weird thing where not only like do we assume that they've, had sex, but then also they have to like go sit with the other women that also have maybe slept with him. So it's just like, it's weird. Like, I don't love it. I'm not even saying that from a prudish perspective. It's just like, what the hell? Like, ugh.
Sophie says Rachel Lindsay is my favorite bachelorette, but if Michelle becomes bachelorette, I will have a dilemma on my hands. Do you know what though? We'll say though that Rachel paved the way for Michelle to be the bachelorette. So if we end up enjoying Michelle's season, is because the Bachelor, like she made them have broaden, widen, and more diversity, and like they forced them to find great other women of color to represent the franchise. So we were allowed to like Michelle maybe more, I would say, because the franchise has done a little bit more work, and so they found another person that's equally or more so amazing, equally different. Did they not let him say it to any other women until the end? Well, they're not supposed to, but it's happened a couple times, like Peter's season, obviously, or not Peter. What's his name? Ben season.
Ben.
And what Peter's season?
Ben, that was the whole crux of it, is that he loved them both and he told them both at the end. I've wondered about this though, Sam, where it's like, is it explicitly told that you're not supposed to affirm them back? Because it seems like in a lot of conversations, the lead purposely avoids like articulating it and then usually responds with an awkward kiss, as we've seen, as a way of being like, I agree, but I can't say. But then they do say it sometimes. So I don't think that they're necessarily, maybe they're being encouraged not to verbalize it as much as possible to allow for the show to unfold and for there to be some element of suspense. But clearly they do say it to some people, and usually it's the person that they choose. So
apparently Catherine knew, it was never aired, but Sean was choosing her. Like he gave her some reassurance very early on, or not very, but like earlier on than the final two moment, that she was the one. And so I'm wondering if maybe that's allowed after a certain point, but like you still have to contractually play the season out. Recent history has proven that the lead can say "I love you" whenever he or she wants. I guess it's kind of true. I agree with Michelle. Michelle is just a grown-up woman who is giving a grown-up relationship. Exactly. I don't think that Matt has enough relationship experience or is at a point where he understands that's what he wants or needs. Exactly. He's definitely a toddler in the relationship department. And I think that Michelle is a scholar. Maybe they do, but it's edited out. Who knows? I don't think that they do say that I do, because that they love you. They try not to unless it's just the plot point. It seems like. So we get back to I don't know what we call it, the chateau, and Rachel is there, and she's kind of already starting to get sick to her stomach and nauseous about the fact that Matt is being with someone else, and that's Michelle. And Michelle comes back and she sits down, and Rachel leaves because she's super like upset about it. And Bree's like, Michelle's like, what's going on with her? Like, she's not handling this very well. I don't think it's sincere, personally. I think that she feels like she's supposed to do this to show that she's really into him, but I do feel it's performative.
Yeah. And I'm wondering, like, are we really going to make this a staple now where all the girls, like, okay, I get that it's COVID, but I'm not giving the producers a pass for that decision being like, yeah, I get that it's COVID, so they're all staying together, but F that anyways, because we know that these people are trying to like just make drama. But last season, when they had all the women staying together too for the fantasy suites, and they did that obviously because there was the storyline with Madison being super uncomfortable with that. That was hella awkward and so uncomfortable. And here we are again. Like, stop. Why? This is so awkward.
Just allow them to to be able to fantasize that it's just them and not see the women coming back so excited. They're
the morning after they're walking in, like, that's so weird. And no matter who you are, not even to give Rachel credit here, but like, no matter who you are, that's a weird situation to be in. Yeah, like, I wouldn't like that. No. But God, they're ridiculous with this stuff. I can't believe that they're doing it again. And I bet you they'll do it again because it presents an opportunity for more drama. And they didn't show us how the other two felt about these segments either. I think that's the other piece. Like, everything that was shown in this in between was really furthering Rachel's story, which is clearly the story of the end of the season. And we don't know, like, how does Bree feel? How does Michelle feel? Who knows? We didn't see any of their reactions.
Bean says, Tanya, it's great TV when they return from the boom boom room.
At least Are You the One is shameless about the fact that people are sleeping together in that room. You know, like, that is like a show where sex is happening openly all the time. So I feel like it's a different vibe, but I agree that it is great TV. I actually miss Are You the One?
I miss Are You the One a little bit, the messiness of it all. So Bree is excited to see Matt, of course. She has a little bit of a jealousy thing going on and a little bit of hesitation because she was given the last rose in the previous rose ceremony. And like, I get where she's coming from, but I think also she knows probably deep down that she hasn't crossed the barrier of like deepening the relationship. And so I think that that's probably what she's worried about. It's that like, maybe we're not going to be able to connect, and like, maybe like I'm going to go home now. So Bree's date, she does do a slow motion jump hug. Was it Juhu? And, you know, he kind of like props her up and holds her up there. It didn't seem supernatural, in my opinion.
The analysis agrees with you. It was not a strong Huju in analysis either, unfortunately.
Yeah. Oh, you watched their analysis of that Huju?
They talked about it, yeah, on their podcast.
What did they give it, like a 4? I don't know.
They're like, she was like jogging, but the position of her arms was like down and like not super good, and then like didn't get enough momentum, so he really had to like hoist her up. Which is true. Like I like noticed that as well. I was like, oh, she's actually gonna do this. It didn't feel like she got the right.
She didn't get the lead up. It wasn't. It's kind of like, okay, the vault. Have you ever done gymnastics?
I've never done gymnastics, no, but I've
the vault, like so like you have to run to be able to like do anything on the vault. You can't kind of go slow motion and then like do any sort of trick on the vault. Like you have to have that momentum. I'm so right though. I didn't think that it was gonna happen. I was so, oh my God, so funny.
Not a strong approach, and not a strong jump. So
I wonder if this is indicative of the relationship, right? Like, can we put in like the strength of the Huju with the strength of the relationship? Is there any sort of parallels here? That is the question.
There seems to be a correlation in terms of the scoring of the Hujus and people that are doing better on this season, but not necessarily because Rachel also doesn't do one later on too. But Michelle has had some strong Hujus this season, according to the podcast. So there you go. But I think Brie, to be honest with you, Brie, to me, seemed fully aware of where she stood in this final three, and that she verbalized that at the beginning, just being like, I'm worried because I got the last rose that my relationship may not be as far along as the other two. It seemed to me like she was pretty aware that she was probably number 3 of 3.
Yeah. So they have a camping date, like hiking and camping. When I saw this date, I was like, okay, friend zone date. Like we know that if it's not romantic, it's the friend zone date. And I was getting mad though. I was like, if they make their overnight be in that gosh darn tent, like kind of like how they did Ivan Dirty with having it in the camper, I was like, come on, at least give the girl like a nice date. Were you thinking the same thing?
Yeah, I feel like she got a bunch that, not a bunch, but like, didn't she had the ATV outdoor date also? Like where they fell over and Matt almost killed her. They had that date, or she's like getting all muddy and dirty. They have this camping date. She says she doesn't really like, she's not like a nature person either. So I think she was being a good sport about it, but it's like, I would love to have like a shopping spree date like Rachel got probably. But I guess I'll hike with Matt outside.
Like, I mean, it's an okay date, but like, it's not for the fantasy suite date. Like, I think it should be a little bit more romantic and a little bit more like, I don't know, datey, like not like outdoor activity. Even though I love outdoor activities, I think pre-final 3, like I'd be welcoming this date. Even if it was an overnight little thing that they had, whatever, I'd be fine with it. Yeah. But fantasy suite, this isn't nobody's fantasy is to go camping. Like, I mean, maybe it is.
No, that's the thing. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with camping or hiking. Like, I enjoy those things. I think they're nice. And I do think that you can get to know a person really well if you go on like a nice long walk and like do something that's team building. But I think it particularly feels less romantic because typically they're in a exotic location, or like they're somewhere else. They're not like just in the US, like at Nemacolin, which looks beautiful, but it's not like Bora Bora or like a beautiful like island somewhere or anywhere that they've gone before. Like I feel like then if you're going to be outdoors and do that, that will automatically feel more romantic. It will automatically feel like you have this world to yourself that's like really cool. This just kind of felt like I went on a nature walk with my girl and tricked her into thinking we were sleeping in a tent. That's.
I mean, I think they did it just for the pitching the tent like puns. I think that's pretty much because they're like, we're pitching a tent, like bump ching. Moses says, "You guys are analyzing Hujus." Yes,
I'm there. I'm in.
From now on, if there is a Huju in the episode moving forward, obviously we will bring in the data from the podcast that you've spoken of, and we will have that be built into the future episodes of this podcast. It is too important to overlook the hoodoo. So yes, it's going to become a staple now. It's especially now that it has a name.
It's classic.
Data.
Again, can't take credit for it once again. That's all Game of Roses, providing excellent content that I am very much on board with at this point. And I can't believe it took me this long to even find it. I feel like such a bad Bachelor podcaster. How did I not know?
I'm impressed. It's perfect timing. It's perfect. I love it. So they keep doing Brie dirty. Once I saw their date was in the woods, I knew straight up that she was going home. Exactly. Friend zone date. Brie is very self-aware. Absolutely. I like Brie. I said Brie either told the producers she loved the outdoors or she hated the outdoors. I'm almost positive it was the latter though, LOL. Well, she kind of said like, this is not even something I like to do. They did have some s'mores though by the campfire, and I don't know if it was an after the show moment or within it, but when he burns the s'more was that during the moment or after it?
I think that was the clip after. Where he puts it in the tin foil. Basically, it's just burnt.
I love that she wasn't really like, she's just kind of like, what are you doing? That seems dumb.
Like, is Matt doing this? Like, has Matt never roasted marshmallow before? I mean, the Matt's never seen people kissing with their eyes closed. So who knows what Matt is doing.
True. Campers and tent dates are the kiss of death. Absolutely. 100, like, the haunted house date. You're out of here. Drag racing date, out of here. Like, you can't have the super tomboy sporty ones this late in the game without it being friend zony.
Imagine they actually they have contestants in the future that are so aware of these things that somebody turns up and they get the camping date or whatever equivalent of this date is. And they're like, I know what this date means. You're not going to pick me. And we have a meta moment where that's referenced, because if people get smarter and smarter about what this show is and how to make it far, I wouldn't be surprised if someone had that awareness going into a date like that, being like, oh shit, I got this date. I'm screwed.
Oh, that'd be kind of interesting if we could see people figuring out the season as it's happening. I mean, they would never show that to us, but that would be so interesting as a show, seeing the contestants learn where their placement is in the game.
Yeah, break the fourth wall. Let's do it.
So the camping date, this is from BB, was originally meant for Kit, but she quit, laughing my ass off. So wait, so is this facts? Are you just joking here, BB? And would they give it to Kit because she's more fancy and so giving her the roughing it date is hilarious? Is that what's happening there?
Maybe that green sweater was also for Kit. Him serving fashion.
Maybe. Maybe they're just oh my god, I don't know what to put him on them. We planned for a Kit. It's sad that they're gonna maybe pick for the Bachelorette, who was 11th place. I know it is kind of, we've talked about it a few times that it was rumored that it's going to be Katie. We're not sure exactly who it's going to be, and then we're going to talk about the rumors at the end of this podcast. But I definitely think that there's been a lot more women of all backgrounds that I would be more excited to even see Kit. She's a bit too young, but I'm not excited to see Katie on this season, which is,
it's such a high placing to 11. That's so far back. I know occasionally they've thrown a curveball and given us somebody who wasn't on the previous season, or somebody coming out of Paradise, Ari, after all those years, or even Nick going on Paradise and then being the Bachelor, Colton, whatever. But they still made it far in the show when they were on it. 11th place is really far back to be lead, I think. But
I mean, I'm not excited about that if that's how things go down. Tamika can see that from what? That was meant for Kit. Yeah, that makes sense. Kit got lost in the woods, remember? LOL, that's true. Okay, funny. Right. Okay. Yeah, it's definitely Mount River Kit. Abigail should have gotten that spot. I think so. I mean, there's still a chance for them to change their mind. Like, we don't know if it's 100% going to be Katie yet. I would very much enjoy for it to be Abigail. We've been really clear about that. I would love, maybe they did want it to be Abigail, and maybe she's even said no. Maybe she's turned it down. Maybe she didn't have a great experience. Maybe.
It's true.
I think that Juan Pablo placed 9th on Desiree's season and became the Bachelor, but he was also like Latin and like had an accent.
Yeah, that's Chris Harrison used him as an example of how they've been diverse in the past. So
diverse. Okay, so anything else happen with this date? So I didn't write down their night portion of the date. What did they go and have dinner?
Mm-hmm.
Did they? I didn't see it, or I didn't register. The next thing I wrote, basically, I wrote down, I really am so in love with you, but I think that they were already in the bed for that.
I'm pretty sure they had a dinner, because that's when she gets the, do you choose to forego your individual suite, blah, 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 card from Chris, and then the night portion that they have. But to be honest, I don't even remember much about what happened there.
Me neither. It must have been short. But then there's like the cuddling topless Matt moment in the bed and talking about I love yous. It felt uncomfortable to me just because we know, well, if they slept together, fine, but we know that he's not going to pick her, most likely. And I think she even knows, or maybe before this moment she knew that, but if they did sleep together, she probably doesn't think that he would send her home after that. So It was just kind of awkward to me. And like, I don't know, it was icky.
I feel like Matt maybe didn't sleep with any of them, but I mean, also, I don't know. I'm trying to give too much credit to a guy in this situation. And I don't have a problem if you slept with all of them either. Like, whatever, you do your thing. You're going to get engaged. Like, you should probably know if you're sexually compatible with someone. But I don't know. I feel like they're trying to make it seem like that happened, but I don't know that it happened for them. I didn't get that read. I know they're like, oh, we're making breakfast after, like, but I don't know that they actually slept together, other than like slept in the same bed, but I don't know they had sex.
So Bean is asking us, so he may have missed it, but do either of us think that any of the relationships were consummated? So I know you just said that you don't know if they did or they didn't. I would say Michelle probably, because she had even like more fluttery heart eyes and like didn't want him to leave. Like, I didn't want him to end. Like, it seemed to really make her like him more.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be
very lovey morning after, like,
really? With like the stroking of the bare chestness. That's kind of morning after-y. And I don't know if it was just performative of intimacy, but with the fact that she was more sure of the relationship, maybe as though that was a yes. Is it bad that I don't really remember Rachel's date?
Well, we also didn't see Rachel's morning after with Matt at all. So it's hard to say what happened there. I mean, personally, I'm just leaning towards the fact that he didn't consummate the relationship with any of them. I agree that if he did with Michelle, it probably would be the more obvious one, but I don't know. And I honestly don't know if he would sleep with Rachel. Like, I'm not sure. Like, I'm not really sure where he stands on that, to be honest with you. Where some bachelors, it's kind of obvious, like, where they stand.
Yeah.
I don't know for Matt. Like, he does seem to respect women, and there's nothing disrespectful about, sleeping with someone that you're dating at all. I'm not trying to equate that, but I think he would maybe play it more off of their comfort level in that scenario. That's just my total projection, though. I don't really know.
So Beans says, you're correct. Why didn't they show Rachel waking up with Matt? Exactly. So like, okay, what I wrote down next was Rachel's having a hard time, Rachel's date, and she's kind of worried that his feelings for her have changed. And maybe that's because she's learned that the other women have taken it to the next level sexually with him. But she kind of walks up to Matt and she's just kind of pouty, as you kind of called her out on already. And I can't remember whose podcast I was listening to, but the parallel that they gave was that it's kind of like Victoria F. How like just like do the cry and the poutiness for them to come and take care of you and like make you reassure you because you're having such a hard time, and they like them so much that they're willing to give them that extra attention and extra effort and extra reassurance. And so I agree with you that it was been calculated, and she's probably like, make him a part of the trope that you're catching up on here with, like, if he takes care of you, like, he's going to show you that he's more interested, and that it's a game move for her to be like pouty. Agree.
Yeah, like she needs to have that reassurance from him specifically that's on a next level from everybody else. She needs to have him, make her feel good about that. And I understand wanting to feel reassured, especially because you don't really know what's happening with the other women. You not really anyways, at least in their private conversations, but it's totally like it's a game move. And also I think maybe even subconsciously, like I said, something that has worked for her in the past, as I'm sure it's also worked for Victoria Fuller, where it's just like you cry those tears, you pout, or you show that you're pissed off about something clearly so that someone has to ask you what's going on. Because Rachel's energy from the start of the date, like the lack of the hug jump, she was walking like so like sad and like so like clearly something's wrong with her, like on the way to see him, and then she's kind of off in the pottery stuff at the beginning before they have the conversation about it. Like I think that was a play, and it was well done on her part.
These points that Tamika has right here are exactly what I wrote down. So Rachel got the pottery ghost scene, and if you guys haven't seen the movie Ghost, there's like a very romantic moment with Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore, and like the ghosts and the hands, and like, so that's like the epic, one of the epic love scenes or love movies. And they get that scene, and then we'll probably talk about it again, but they do get fireworks outside of the window. And that combined, I'm totally agreeing with you, Tamika. It was over, mostly her winning. Exactly. Or whining, sorry. I thought she said instead of winning. But anyways, I think that it was indicative of her winning because she got the most love-oriented, date, and then she got the fireworks. But she said it was over mostly because it was her whining. But true, she was whining a lot.
Yeah, totally. It was a genius play in the sense that whether she is intending to win or wants to be the Bachelorette, it seemed like strategically she was pushing him to either like give her the reassurance and like really prove to her that he cares about her the most, or enough of a cry, oh my God, I can't do this, that, she can leave, which we've also discussed, like, has she been trying to like pull this thing where it's like, please eliminate me because I care, but like, I can't do this, like kind of that move where you get eliminated in this heartfelt way. Your heart's broken. Oh my God, it's perfect. You can be the Bachelorette, or you can be on Bachelor in Paradise, like one or the other. But by doing it this way, she opened up a great ending for herself because she's either going to win or like in her mind be the lead or get a future.
100%. And I was thinking of like, is this how she's going to get herself out of being in the final two? Is that like she can't handle the fact that she he's with other women and like, my heart's broken, but like I can't get over it. I won't be able to move forward. And it's like, I love you so much, but like it just was this experience, like I can't do it. So she can get out of being with him, because I don't think that she actually wants to be with him in the long run. But I do have to say that when they met up for the night portion of the date, and she was like, oh, you look cute, like look at this outfit, like like, I thought that was a cute, datey moment, and it seemed genuine. And I hadn't really seen her show that she likes him that much. And so I did see that a little bit there when they first met up at the night portion. Did she say this to him directly? But, oh yeah, she does. Okay. So she says, I'm 100% and completely ready for, what did I write down? I don't know, falling in love with you or future with you or something like that. And he said, same. He said, same.
Verbal confirmation.
Same. He said, same. And he was like, same. Like,
yeah.
He said it. And then they get the fireworks. And I was just like, didn't show the morning after with them, but the same as like, well, she's not going anywhere. And then the next day, she's so happy when they're going to the rose ceremony. So they have Michelle walk up first, and like, this is what the love that she's always been looking for. I was like, oh boy, she's gonna have her heart broken. Brie is like, well, this week is better than last week when she's meeting Chris Harrison before going into the rose ceremony. And then Rachel. I didn't write down anything about Rachel walking up there, but I did notice though, when Matt was talking and giving out the roses or whatnot, Rachel was kind of nodding. And the nodding to me felt as though they had discussed what he's going to be saying. You know what I mean? It was like, yeah, that's a point that we covered. Mm-hmm. And like giving him reassurance that he was saying the right things or whatnot. And I thought that was interesting. It seemed as though they went over what he was going to say. Did you pick that up too?
I think they all walked into this ceremony knowing exactly what was going to go down, Brie included. She was like, I'm going to put on my nice black dress. I'm going to look fabulous because I'm about to be dumped. So I'm going to look immaculate. And I think she was aware. I think Rachel knew she was totally safe, especially after she had her vent and reassurance. Like, all of that. I think Michelle also like knew that she was okay. I'm pretty sure Michelle's just like operating with the confidence that she like knows herself and knows that they have a good connection. So I think she was also aware. I think everyone knew, and it just played out that way. And that was the vibe that I got from that rose ceremony, personally. Uh-oh. I don't know if this is me or... I love when this happens because I'm not equipped to like fill this space. I feel like I should have like a 5-minute joke ready to go every time we disconnect. I was told to keep talking, so I'm going to keep talking. I think this is a really good opportunity for me to share the metaphor that was shared on the pottery date, which is, quote, it starts with a strong foundation. The thing about ceramics is that it really is like building a relationship. You have an idea in your head of how it's going to turn out, but things change. And so you need to be flexible and understanding. Thank you to the ceramics instructor for fulfilling her obligation of tying the date into love and metaphorically connecting it in that way. I got to say that one's one of my favorites personally. I thought that was hilarious. I wish I could scroll through the chat so I could at least respond to you all. Live TV, am I right? There was some discussion online about how the show referencing Ghost is referencing something that like a lot of the audience and a lot of the girls that are on the show right now like wouldn't even be aware of the movie Ghost because they're so young that they might not even get the reference point, which I think is pretty interesting. Like our generation, we're aware, but like
is people used to like, I don't think I look at it at all, but you used to say that I reminded them of Whoopi Goldberg. Whoopi Goldberg is like the one doppelganger that like everybody since I've been a kid said thinks that I look like. I guess it's because I'm black and hilarious, but like, but maybe a little bit of her in Ghost here. So yes, I was in danger, girl.
She wasn't. I'm sorry. I tried my best. That really is gonna age poorly when this episode gets taken off. But I did share with them the metaphor from the pottery date and how it relates to love. So you can check that out after.
I'll watch that moment. In danger when I was frozen in time.
It was lost.
Lost in time. Ooh, wait, kick a freestyle. Did you freestyle?
No, I did not. I was like, I think I should have a tight 5 ready to go for if this happens. I could just like practice some jokes.
True. I wonder if Rachel even got the reference. Doubtful. I don't know if she was even born when the movie came out, to be honest. Yeah, so I'm wearing glasses now because I have a big window right here. And so when it's like perfectly overcasted but bright, I forget that I don't need a ring light. And so then like obviously as the sun behind the clouds is setting, I'm like, oh shit. And so I didn't wear any contacts today. So now that it's like darker in here, I can't read as well. And so when I was trying to figure out like how to fix my internet, I put on some glasses and I'm just going to keep them on. So there.
Maybe we filmed this on a different day. Who knows?
We're live here. This is all the wonders of the magic of live TV.
That's true.
So he picks Michelle and Rachel. He picks Michelle first, which I thought was interesting. And Rachel seemed to look a little bit like upset by it, like seemingly. Do you think that was calculated there, picking him for first, or?
I think it's calculated in the sense that I guess when there's 2 roses left and you have a pretty clear inclination of who you think the front runner is, they're trying to pull a fast one on us by being like, see, he gave Michelle the first rose. But like, really, it's just a, misdirect to be like, he obviously is going to pick Rachel anyway. It's like, it's never been more clear. The fireworks didn't indicate that. Like, we now know that that's what's going to happen.
Exactly. And so he kind of walks out Bree, and he says, I believe it was him that says, I'm sorry. And she's like, she's crying a bit. And she's like, I can't be angry, but I can really just be sad. And like, it is sad being broken up, but it's better for her anyways. I don't think that, sorry, Matt, I don't know if he's that great of a catch. I think he has a little bit more work to do relationship-wise. And other than him being attractive and tall, he's he doesn't seem that wow. Like I do she also like the work that he does with his philanthropy and stuff, and charities and stuff. So I'm interested in that, but I don't know for me if he's that great of a catch. And so Brie, you're going to be so on fire now. You're going to get all the catches are going to be coming, being like, "Yep, I'll snap you up, wife you up." You know, I think that she'll be
the ideal situation to be in is that you didn't win, but you came across really well. I think it's obvious to everyone. Like most people really enjoy Brie that have watched the show or that I've talked to anyways. She's a lot of people like her. Maybe she's their favorite, or at least they think that she is like this cool, beautiful girl. Great. She's going to have lots of opportunities. And she didn't do anything wrong. You know, it's kind of the same as like Abigail or whatever, where Matt just kind of has to be like, it's not you. I just developed relationships with other people more. I feel like that applies to Brie here. Like she didn't do anything other than be there and like have decent chemistry with him and just like try her best. So no knock on her.
No,
like,
I mean, yeah, she's
not meant to be.
She wasn't able to open up early enough, but it could be with not getting the dates and not getting the opportunity as well. But it just take it as it wasn't meant to be, because something better is going to be lined up for you, like 100%. No, you're right. I guess I'm not sorry. I just don't want anybody to think that like I'm bashing on him. Like he could be great for somebody. For me, he's not who I would be like, oh my God, he on paper, it's this guy. Like, no, not for me.
I think he's one of the better bachelors, though, which is pretty wild. Like, maybe not like my real world person I want to date is Matt James, but like from the Bachelor franchise, honestly, from what we've seen, I think he's one of the better bachelors we've had.
I agree.
I get the bar is on the floor. Like, it's not like we've had like amazing men do this, but he seems to like care about listening. He addressed the toxicity and actually sent those people home when it came up. He's been respectful to the women in terms of everything. Like even as we saw in the women tell all, he could have, you know, gone there with a bunch of them, but he chose to be respectful. Like he seems like a decent person. Yes. So there for Bachelor franchise, like he's like one of the better ones we've had. Which
I agree.
That's wild, but it's true.
I think it was Brie that said this, but I thought what we had was special, which I thought was really sad. Knowing that if she feels this way, that like Michelle is going to really be feeling this way. And so I'm kind of BB's calling you out. The bar's on the floor. Dang, Tanya.
Is it not? Is it not? Like, let's go down in history and see some of the leads that we've had. Including all the ones we've referenced today.
So the last thing from my notes that I wanted to know if you noticed is he sends Brie home, or can I walk you out? Whatever his favorite. He loves just like being like, can I walk you out? Can I walk you out? Can I walk you out? And so he comes back into the room and he walks directly up to Rachel and hugs Rachel. And I see Michelle looking over at the hug. Did you notice anything about that moment too?
I didn't notice that moment. I don't know if maybe I was like checking my phone or something, but that tracks to me. Especially if you saying that Rachel's kind of like going along with the thing, like the rose ceremony and just kind of like nodding along. It's maybe like, again, those, what I've heard lots of leads talk about post-show is that they find ways to show the person that they ultimately ended up choosing that they've got something more. And whether that's a signal or communication or whatever, I think without a doubt, like him beelining to her and then hugging her is probably like, hey, I know like this is awkward, but also I'm picking you. You know, like I think he really wanted to have a moment that was more concrete with her from that reassurance perspective. So it doesn't surprise me.
See Michelle looking over. They cut it there, and then they start doing like next week on the shocking season finale of The Bachelor. We're gonna see the what are we calling it? The fence jump moment. I'm excited about that. Finally, that will come to a head. It's probably gonna be underwhelming, but were there anything other? There's more topless moments, I believe.
Yeah, it looked like it.
Where are you at number-wise?
So I believe we got 3 this episode. I think, which is pretty good. I think we were at 6 before. If we're kind of I think we were at 6 before. I would have to dive back and confirm, because I know with the tell all we're kind of counting it as one shirtless moment, just because there was a moment in the hot tub and some other scenes. So we should be at 9.
Okay.
Around 9.
So you need 2 more basically to win the over-under.
I'm not feeling super confident about it. Like, maybe, but it's gonna be down to the wire. It could be right at 10, and we'll see.
I mean, I'm shocked because they started off so strong.
I know.
Yeah, and the fact that I might still win this, I was I counted myself out. I did.
Oh, expect the unexpected, apparently.
Go back to BB. It's at the end of the episode, and see if you can catch it. I'm actually gonna look again to see if Michelle has more of a reaction that I didn't completely notice. But yeah, he walks directly to Rachel for sure. Why does each of you think Matt cries next week? Probably for having to break up with Michelle, and Michelle is probably really in love with him. What do you think?
I'm thinking that because we saw Patty, his mom, in the.
Maybe he doesn't like Rachel.
I'm thinking that, or maybe he tells her that he had a conversation with his father, and that could lead to some.
Maybe her mom was mad. Maybe mom was mad. Felt like
I think it's tied into him interacting with his mom in some way, whether it's because of one of the women, or her not liking them, or maybe because the conversation that he had with his dad comes up, and maybe that impacts the conversation that they have. But that's my guess of where the crying comes from, because he has had it. He looks like he's done in that clip. He's not happy.
Okay, I'm going to take a bit of everything that we both said. It could be because it seemed from the clip that the mom really likes Michelle. It seemed like that. I don't remember what the clip part was with Rachel. So it could be a combination of mom preferring Michelle and maybe mom feeling it was a bit disloyal of her son to be speaking to the dad, and maybe he said that he forgave him, or the dad said whatever, but maybe the mom has some ill feelings towards the father. Maybe he hasn't done the same with her and had an apology, and so maybe she got upset with Matt about having this meeting, because I know that a lot of moms, not that they want to keep their children away from the father, but they kind of want their children to side with them because they've been with them the whole time. They took care of them. They were there for them. They were part of their lives growing up. And so the dad just gets to come in here and just swoop in and be the hero. And so there might be some resentment within their dynamic about Matt choosing to have this moment with his dad. So I could see it being just a combination of meeting mom and mom having opinions of your actions that you're doing so far, and maybe that you're making the wrong decision.
I think so. I feel like when we've seen him get emotional, which is only this past, I don't know that he's cried from what we've seen on camera anyways, other than this past episode. It seems to be connected to family stuff. So I have a feeling that it is motivated from family stuff. But yeah, it could be a combo of both. I'm interested to see what brings him there, because he's just been slowly kind of losing himself throughout this. You can feel, usually it's kind of like when a president leaves a presidency, they look 10 years older than they were when they started. I was really, because maybe it could have been 8 years, but they've aged so much from the stress of the job. I feel like this happens to the lead, especially with The Bachelor. If you think of Peter, by the end of the last season, dude had a scar. He was looking haggard as hell. He was looking a mess. So I feel like whatever this is, that finally brings Matt to this concrete breaking point. I'm interested to see what happens there.
Me too. Bean says, what if his mom wanted him to pick Michelle? That's what I feel. I feel that.
I feel like she'll like Michelle more than Rachel. I just feel like on impression, like Michelle seems so much more genuine.
Yeah, exactly. I think his mom doesn't like that he brought his dad on. I think his mom said something, love doesn't mean anything, or maybe.
Yeah. Also, I'm curious to see what Rachel's going to say in response to the question of, what do you see in my son? Or like, what do what do you like about my son? Because I haven't heard her articulate anything like that. And I'm sure it's going to be some floofy, dumb answer anyways. So like,
it's gonna be like,
I personally wouldn't be impressed.
It's gonna be, he took care of me, like, and his compassionate for me when the skydiving moment. She's gonna say something probably referencing that. And probably other times, like anytime, like I've not felt reassured, like he's always there reassuring. Like he's just going to lay out all the things that he does to make her feel safe. I think that's the direction I think she's gonna go in with. Complimenting him is how good he is to her. Maybe his mom likes Michelle, but Matt wants Rachel. Hundo, Dino, hundo. Well, thank you, Bean. I do think it's gonna be a combination of all the things. I do agree with Tanya that it's like the mom is going to be the catalyst here, 100%, because she's the new variable in the situation that could have an emotional impact on him. So mom's gonna be telling some truths, and maybe Matt doesn't want to hear it, because nobody wants it to be told that who they love and who they want to pick is not the right person. So
yeah,
that's cool. Okay, so if you guys want to tune out, you've already been here for 2 hours, so we're impressed already. We're just gonna do a quick little chit chat to what the actual gossip is going on. Rumor mill, Reality Steve has dropped some information. We don't know if it's completely accurate because he's been a little bit off in these last few, breaking announcements. But if you aren't interested in having any potential spoilers, thank you for joining us. We will love to see you next week. So, Reality Steve says, actually, do you want to break it?
I'm going to try and find, I have at least it written down because I don't go to his site. I think the interface of his site is just a mess.
It's not
but where is, excuse me, where's the one where it actually came out?
Well, I think Natalie already said it in the chat, BB, but we'll pull it up and we'll talk about it too.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just trying to find the actual thread where they've written. Oh, here we go. I think it's this one where it's actually broken down. Oh, sorry.
Oh, good.
So essentially, as we have been made aware, we know that Katie was kind of in discussion to be the Bachelorette. So that is essentially being confirmed by Reality Steve that she's going to be the next Bachelorette and that she's set to begin taping her season in New Mexico at the Hyatt Regency Tanya in a few weeks. After that, Bachelor in Paradise will film as per usual in June at a location that hasn't been announced yet and will begin airing after Katie's season is done airing per usual. Then, apparently on After the Final Rose, Emmanuel Acho lets the audience know that Michelle will have her own season of The Bachelorette that will be filmed sometime after Bachelor in Paradise and air in the fall. And the reasoning for this is that Michelle didn't want to leave her class again to start filming. And that's why it is playing out in this order. So I did not see that coming. Oh no, did I lose her again? I personally did not see this coming. Like I was not, there had been some discussion online about like maybe potentially that there would be a season where there was two leads, kind of like Britt and Caitlin. But then Reality Steve said that wasn't the twist. And it kind of figured that Katie was all but confirmed based on what everything was saying. But this concept that we're now going to have like a Katie season, a Bachelor in Paradise season, and then straight into a Michelle season is really interesting and I think unexpected, but also still trying to unpack how I really feel about it. On the one hand, I'm glad that she's actually getting a season as a lead because I really like Michelle and I think she'll be an incredible lead. And to the point Chantele made before, where it's like, oh, she's taking on a role where someone has already started to pave the way for her. So maybe they'll be able to handle it better. But then on the reverse of it, like looking on the other side, I just kind of wish that they didn't do this both sides thing of like trying to appeal, I guess, to like both perspectives of their audience by having someone like Katie take on the role and then also having Michelle take on the role. It feels like they didn't really make like a decision to just choose one. They chose to just appease everybody by having them both have a season. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. But you guys let us know in the chat what you think, if you're spoiled, and how you feel about this. But hey.
Literally tethering from my phone. Like, what is going on? I'm going to call these people, these service providers, because that's not providing a service that's reliable.
Right. I was just saying, like, to your point, Rachel has paved the way. So potentially this could be good if Michelle gets a chance to like actually be a lead and she is supported in the right way that she needs to be. But then also that I was feeling kind of like meh about the fact that they chose two instead of just choosing Michelle, you know, like I feel like they could have just made a choice and they've chosen to appease everybody by doing this double thing, but that it's unexpected. I didn't think that this would happen.
It wasn't on my radar here at all.
No.
So yes, Sam. So 2 Bachelorette seasons will be filmed this year. I guess Katie's is going to air
in the spring or soon,
like at probably May, I guess, April, end of April, mid-April, go to June. Bachelor in Paradise is usually like, what, 6 weeks?
Mm-hmm.
Not usually that long. And then maybe July, August will be the time for Michelle to be filming Bachelor in Paradise, or her season.
They'll film hers probably like summertime because she won't be teaching. And then air it towards the end of summer, beginning of fall.
I think that they can get around overlapping. Because if it's like, if they do mid-April, that's like for 3 months-ish, April, May, June, oh, maybe actually.
Well, I think they'll start, they said that Katie's season starts filming in 2 or 3 weeks.
Oh, okay, so it's really soon. So it could even be early.
So that'll probably air in like, yeah, like you said, April, May, and then Bachelor in Paradise, and then Bachelorette again. So it's just a lot.
You know what? But this podcast is gonna, like, between me and you, will be morphing into something different. I feel like we're gonna start having some of these tropes, and like, I think it'll be interesting having all this content to make it like not necessarily just recapping the episode. I think that we're gonna, it's starting to evolve already to have more things that are kind of fun to talk about. So, but too bad,
especially since the show like that's happening outside of the show. Like, I think when we started this is like we're recapping the season, but so much has happened outside of the season that's become a factor of what we're talking about. So I agree with you. It's like, I feel like it's like we're discussing the Bachelor universe in the same way that people discuss the Marvel universe. It's like a big entity and franchise that has a lot of moving parts that intersect and like things that are connected. And it feels like way bigger than just like what we're seeing in the episodes play out, which is very much like our Super Bowl, but it's not like, it's not the only thing that's happening anymore. And there's a lot more interesting things to talk about.
It's becoming more of an interesting show to talk about than just to recap it, you know, like I totally agree with you. And that's why I don't mind there being a lot of content, because I feel like what we're discussing is more interesting than just the breakdown of what happened, you know? So
exactly.
Who will be the host? I still think it's going to be Chris Harrison. I don't think they're going to change that up. Or maybe they'll bring somebody else in for some of the dates and stuff more. I don't know, but I don't think that he's gone.
Depends what happens with Chris, honestly. Like, we'll see.
I don't think anything's going to happen to him. Yeah, Katie's season was supposed to start this week, but then they lost their location. Was it supposed to be in Toronto or Canada?
It was supposed to be, I think, in Alberta, I want to say. And then it's not at that location anymore.
Tamika agrees with me. It will most likely be Chris. Oh, God, please not be Katie. I mean, these are just spoilers here. We don't know 100%. Reality.
We'll find out on Monday or whenever the finale is. On Monday, I guess.
That would suck, but I don't see it changing. Sorry, Sam. Katie is first. LOL. Yeah, it's happening. I feel like it's happening. We had the rumors about it. I think that the producers want to go with Katie, and as you said, appease everybody else that wants anybody else but Katie, by having a later season with Michelle. So I wish that Bachelor in Paradise was first, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I don't want to wait all the way till June for Bachelor in Paradise. I wouldn't mind seeing just a little bit of fluff because they've been pretty heavy these last 2 seasons of The Bachelor and Bachelorette.
Yeah.
I would like to have like just people getting drunk and on a beach. Like I would like to see that if they can travel and do that. So, but I'll take it.
It's a lot of content. Like I think it's an interesting play just from a fatiguing the audience like standpoint where it's like, okay, like this has felt like an eternity of a season. We just came off of the Claire and Tayshia season. We're going to go into Katie's season and then Bachelor in Paradise. And then right away, like I do think this show benefits from having an off season so that people can just decompress and like actually take a moment before we get into it again. Cause it's kind of like a sport. Like when you watch it, it's like, we're engaged and we're paying attention week to week. Like it's an investment. So I would like a bit of a break.
Well, I think we're getting a holiday break because it'll be July, August when they're filming Michelle's season that there won't be any content most likely. So we will have the summer or maybe a couple weeks in between Katie's season and Bachelor in Paradise. So I'm actually going to be happy for the breath. But I think that it will give us an opportunity to maybe shape how we do the podcast a little bit differently, which could be fun.
Totally.
Because I like bringing in these new elements. I find it really entertaining. They want more people vaccinated before Bachelor in Paradise. Interesting. Okay.
I see.
They insist they need Katie's men for Bachelor in Paradise, so it will be Peter's girls, Matt's girls, Claysha's men, I guess, and. Okay, yeah, Katie's men, I guess.
Which also means that then for Bachelor, we've got Claysha's men, Katie's men, and Michelle's men before they like decide the next Bachelor lead. Which honestly, maybe we need that much like options.
Well, because they just say when they threw in Matt like 8 months early or something, So maybe they'll have like a full year to be able to decide on who is going to be the next Bachelor and seeing if maybe somebody emerges from Paradise or who knows. So yes, take some time. Don't just like try to appease the people that want justice served. Like, let's take some time here, guys. And hopefully they'll be able to travel come summer for Bachelor in Paradise and Michelle. I mean, that would be great. It would be that. Okay, actually, the fact that Michelle's not being announced and getting her own specific season right away, how about we look at it is that maybe she will get to travel and she'll get to have the full experience of what it's like to be the Bachelorette because they might be able to move locations and get some of those epic dates and epic moments. So let's say that they wanted to give that to Michelle as the lead and didn't want to give her the dinky season and then get Katie to have a season where they get to travel, which we would be pissed off about. So, and
Michelle still gets to like be a teacher and do her job, which is clearly important to her and is able to, have her life be what it is and not be impacted by the fact that she needs to take time off to do this show. Mm-hmm. I appreciate that at least that they're allowing for her to, maintain her career, which is a big part of who she is.
100%. I think it's going to be better in the long run. Dr. Joe for Bachelor, I'd take it. if they want to go diversity in a different direction here. I was interested. He has a great career. He's very good looking. He seems tall. He's handsome, like doctor, like ethnic. Like, let's bring him in. Like, he would be somebody I'd throw in before I would throw in Matt, to be honest. But they did what they did. Okay, is this an actual twist, Bean? Here's a twist. Ancho for Bachelor to rehabilitate Chris Harrison, LOL. I mean, I don't think he's in a relationship.
I'm just like, Chris literally just sucks. Like, I don't know if you all saw that Good Morning America appearance, and Strahan was not having it, which was so enjoyable to see him just be like, okay, like he essentially like just dismissed and said that Chris seemed like what it seemed surface level is the way that he said it. So it was just like, for Chris had an opportunity there to like stop being a host and just be a human, and he just came across as so wooden and insincere and like ridiculous to me. So maybe if Chris keeps digging that hole for himself, he may not be back. I personally do not want to see him back, but also like all the cynics that are here and us watching it, I believe that it's very possible that he will return, unfortunately.
So Dina says that he doesn't see any traveling for this year either, at least not internationally. Well, I work for an airline, and what it's been projected is that international travel will be available after April. So I don't know if that will change, but that's what they were projecting, is that April there will be some semblance of normalcy with routes. That may change. This is obviously projected. We don't know how things are going to be moving forward. It probably will be a case of needing to have had the vaccine before you can do any international travel. But I wouldn't be surprised if they were able to rent their own friggin' jet and fly these people wherever they want them to fly, have them all be vaccinated and be able to be in other countries. I could see if international travel is allowed, I can see them making sure everybody's vaccinated and even maybe using their own plane if they don't want to go commercial. So I don't necessarily agree with that, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's no traveling for this next year. So like I can way. But they did say that international travel should be starting up again in April. So, or end of April.
Interesting.
We'll see. Tamika's not having Ancho and rehabilitating Chris Harrison. No. Well, thank you everybody for hanging out with us. Do you have anything else that you want to bring to the table, Tanya? Anything that we forgot?
No, I don't think I missed anything. Luckily, most of what's been happening this week is just on the show, so that's great. I don't want to say that I'm excited for the finale, but I am very interested to see Emmanuel Acho like host after the final rose. They've been really ramping up the promo for that. I think that he's really excited about it from everything that he's shared. So I really am looking forward to seeing how that goes down. Looking forward to seeing the announcements play out for Bachelorette, which will happen, and just all of that wrap up, I think will be really interesting. I also don't really know how this season ends. Like, I think we're assuming that it's going to be Rachel, but who knows how cut and dry that ending is going to be, especially given everything that's played out. So I'm definitely intrigued by how this is going to wrap up across the board. I can't believe we're at the end. I can't believe it. 38 people, and now we're at 2.
Whoa! I can't
believe it.
Look at where we are. We're here. And if you are here to the end, please do us a favor and subscribe. It's really helpful. That algorithm, like things and share things and comment on things. Really helpful to keep this podcast growing. We love doing it, but we also love knowing that you love us doing it as well and joining us in the comments, because I feel like I have a friendship with everybody that hangs out
I
here.
know.
They're my buds. I like you guys. So it's really part of our Bachelor podcast moment is like hanging out with each other and then also hanging out with you guys in the chat room. So thank you for being here with us. Sorry, what is Phoebe saying here? Oh, thank you. And Tamika says, Seychelles is open. Okay, nice. Hawaii, Maldives. Hawaii could be somewhere I could see them going for it, so then they don't even have to leave. Or I'm thinking about Bachelor in Paradise, anyways. And other areas. I feel like I heard at one point they want to do Dominican Republic. No, not Dominican. Well, wait, I heard Dominican Republic for something. And like I think also heard Antigua for something else. I can't remember for what. So maybe going to the Caribbean is a potential. But yeah, I think that there's some options. I just really hope that Michelle can get a full season, like the second Black Bachelorette that gets to really experience the show to its fullest. So that's a big fingers crossed. Dino, thank you for another great recap. Thank you. Dino, we love you. Thank God, and thank you guys for getting us through this crazy season. No, thank you guys. We did it together, and we love it. So unless you got something else to say, Tanya, we'll see you guys next week. Bye.